Alright. So, Roberto, it's pretty much the same on any alignment, sadly. So it's not really that interesting to make all of them. So I just did all of them as an excuse to keep running Roberto and see if I could get a better time. Because, you know, you can kind of compare different Robertos, different alignments of Roberto together, and it's fine. So if I happen to get a better time, I'll be pretty happy. So I just need a Chattur'gha one. And again, the only difference that might matter, but I don't think it matters actually, it's a horror. There is a horror on Roberto that is a Xel'lotath horror on Chattur'gha and Ulyaoth, but it is a Chattur'gha horror on Xel'lotath. And it's one of those very, if not the only, change on alignments that is different in just one of the alignments, but it's the same on the other two. It's really weird. It's a very, almost like an oversight, if you ask me. Because usually they circle around, you know? So I'm not sure about that. Like, maybe an oversight from developers, who knows? I guess there. Then we get assignments here and create some spells. We create attack and pull. Assign Trapper, the most important one. Mantra pull, and we cast an attack for the Trappers. We don't assign attack because we only use one, this one. We avoid the other one thanks to Zombie Hover. We just run through the other Trappers. Or past the other Trappers. Not quite through them. So here's the most interesting part of Roberto. We want to activate this matcher to open this gate, but we also going to use this matcher for something else. We're gonna cast Trapper, free Trapper, into a no magic message. And then that allows me to move during the summoning. I die during the summon, but because I have control of the Trapper, I actually don't die. And I can recover movement of Roberto after canceling Trapper. So Roberto didn't die, or didn't quite die. He's kind of dead, but not quite. He's kind of in a ghost state, in a zombie state. And since he's a ghost now, he floats. He cannot fall. He can only go up with collision of the floor. And there. And he also can go through enemies and through actors like that. So he's pretty much a ghost right now. Here I'm gonna cast a pull. And I'm gonna link it into a shield. There you go. And that's just a 3 shield, because 5 shield is not given. I guess you're expected to create it during this chapter. So you only have 3 shield. But 3 shield is enough for this. 3 shield plus no magic messages to avoid shocks. And an animation cancel here. It's faster than creating a 5 shield. And like casting 5 shields. Just in this case because the thing is not created. And one of the cool things about Mantra Pool is that we get enough sanity to avoid the scary noises. And you see I'm just floating there. That's because of the zombie hover thing. Here we're gonna do another pull into shields. So we have enough pull for the later part, and we have shields for this part. There's some delay that, like, every time you get a no magic message, you have to wait a tiny bit before getting another one. You cannot get it immediately, and that's why we get chokes in between the no magic messages. If we could spam no magic messages, we would avoid all of them, I guess, and like then you would need no shields. But we cannot do that because of the downtime of no magic messages. Or rather, it's more about the downtime of the spell in the floor. I really need to activate that trapper. Was kind of a mess. Here I summon a trapper, then no magic message to move into the cutscene during the summon, and that avoids the cutscene, the trigger of the cutscene. Which is still here, and you can hit it here, but if you just run through the corner, you won't hit it. This is kind of a small trigger. Pretty cool that it's small. Like, for example, there's another trigger on that ladder for the cutscene of the gatekeeper, and that one is pretty big. There's actually no way to avoid it by just walking aside it. You have to do some tricky stuff to avoid it. There's another trigger here for the horror cutscene, horror and rats cutscene. That one is like in between. It's not that small, but it's also not that big. You can avoid it by walking. It's just more tricky. And here we're floating and walking on sand for some reason. For some reason, when you float, it sounds like you're walking on sand. I don't know if it in every room or some rooms, but there's a couple of rooms where you walk on sand. And this looks like a time loss, but it's actually not. The splits don't really matter too much because this is compared to another road. So it just doesn't make sense. This is the important part, the final split. That's the only important part. I actually skipped the cutscene. So, no finished cutscene, but it doesn't matter. Because the time ends on the fade out to the cutscene, so it's alright.